will not lie to you.
Alright, what we
The
got?
orc army before us is vast. They say we cannot win, that the orcs
What's that?
are too
Oh.
many. I don't know
What is
about
that?
you,
Little mini
but
tanks?
I am growing tired of proving them wrong. I
What?
see the
Was that any
steel
talks?
in your eyes,
Ooh.
the fire in your soul.
Sisters?
I tell you now, we can
What
win.
is that?
We will
Like
win.
a commissar tank?
If that victory
Ooh.
costs us our lives,
Ooh.
so be
Is
it.
that Wazdacker?
Armageddon is a place that's had some issues, and the sponsor of the issues that are going on right now is none other than the herald of the speed war, Wazdacker Guts.
It is Wazdacker. He's back. Look at that, lads. Look at the flames coming off the back. And the smoke coming off of him. You can't hear the gits, I don't care. Look at that. He's going to be so zogging tall. Oh, look, he's taller than the Death Dread.
This is the fastest orc in the galaxy, the most famous, most infamous of the evil.
Wow. Well, that is all of the preview bits that they showed off. Wow, look at that, lads. That's sogging beautiful. But, I think this means no 11th. At least not in this preview. He does look really zogging good. Wow. He's got the biker jacket and everything. I like that this is also like, here's a bunch of new God stuff. I'm so glad. Oh, man.
On the orc side, but of course there is some loads of stuff on their way for the Imperium as well. Let's have a look at some.
The Humies are getting the Hippogriff AFV.
What is that?
So, the Hippogriff
What is this?
vehicle, as you can see here, is a lightly armored scout tank for the Astra Militarum. These things range ahead of the armored columns.
I'm trying to listen to these kids. Lightly armored scout tank.
These objectives drive the enemy out of critical areas, and they have a
It's so small.
Here you can see the
But it's still got a big old gun. Is this like,
cannon. You've got a battle cannon.
it's like the Hellhound, but
Versatile in
I don't know, it serves the Hellhound's role.
and extremely useful for moving fast ahead of what is normally quite a traditionally slow army.
Yeah, so you can imagine packs of these roving ahead of things like your Lehman Russes and your Rogel Dawn tanks, outflanking enemy positions and kitted out with whatever.
Kind of funny looking.
If you need to pop tanks, you go Melter. If you need to take out troops, you can take.
That looks like as big as the Dawn turret. Or at least the shape of it. Even the bits, the antenna on the back's in the same spot. The light on the right side, same spot.
New vehicle we saw in that great preview trailer that we
The hatch. This is not two hatches, so it is smaller. The Centaur RSV.
So I really
So
like this.
not a
This is
Torox.
fast-moving, lightly armored transport vehicle for your Astra Militarum troops. It is just a beautifully detailed kit as well. It doesn't replace your Chimera, but it kind of rides into battle alongside them and is a tool in the army if someone tries
Doesn't
to
replace a Chimera, but does it replace the Torox? Because look at that, that is a Torox.
for your Astra Militarum force in that. The way it's going to work is you pack it full of troops, you storm forward to the objective, and then you get out of the way. The Chimera would typically sit alongside you guys and offer lots of suppressing fire. This is purely delivery. My
Comes with
favourite
kits you
thing
can put
about it
inside. That's a really nice kit.
and its functionality. Have a look inside that.
Noticeably,
Maybe
not
we can go back and
orcs.
get another look at it. But you've got like fully modelled interior with all the guardsmen that sitting inside it. This is a beautiful.
Comes with the tools that you can put on the side. That's really nice. Another transport, though.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. That's that fantastic shot I was talking about.
Chimeras, Toroxes, and now the Centaur.
I really love this as almost a diorama piece in its
Yeah,
own right.
it's a really cool miniature. You can also build it, of course, with the hatch closed and no troops inside it if you wanted to put it into a Death Corps army or a Steel Legion army.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just leave the guys off it, to be honest.
Yeah, so it only comes with Cadians, is what they're saying.
We also showed you, and the next thing up is probably my favorite thing in the whole preview. I'm calling it now. This is Commissar Graves.
Commissar Graves.
Commissar Graves is a the room like that. Commissar Graves is a member of the High Command for the military operating on Armageddon. She is a stone-cold killer.
It is a lady git,
Commissar
a named Commissar.
Hold of the Officio Prefectus, And literally one of the first things she does in the narrative is replace one of the high-ranking officers with a bolt round.
You can have the character.
Not Serena Rain.
Also has the option to come on an armored.
Keep her in Legends. Now we got
So
another
this
brand
is
new Git.
Vigilance. This is her own personal rapid strike vehicle. And this thing oozes like the grim darkness of Warhammer 40,000.
And she gets a
Gloss
transport.
black paintwork, armored pulpit, chased in gold.
Look at that.
She's
Proper armored truck
stands
that
on the
is.
back with an enormous personal banner.
Wow.
A bunch of people were trying to work out what all the different patches on the jacket I wore were. Commissar Graves' heraldry is one of those patches.
Walk and walk, that's
Inside
beautiful.
The vigilance with her, you
Looks
see
like more of an
her
Inquisition
Monsieur
thing.
Prefectus officers. This is what she calls her right hand. Her left hand is a power fist. Her right hand is a bunch of executioners which she'll use to enact her will.
I think the thing I really like about it is it's nodding a little bit to the Fortress of Arrogance.
Oh, absolutely,
So like the
yeah.
Bane blade that
Exactly.
traditionally drives around in. This is sort of like a smaller, compact version of that. If you converted it yourself,
And it comes with both.
Arrogance, then
Okay,
very
okay.
Cool riding to battle alongside it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things here is that the cloth that she's cut from is very different to Yarrick. Yarrick is an inspiring leader at this point, almost like a heralded hero, right? Whereas Commissar Graves is in every way just a stone-cold killer.
Yeah.
Right, we're still not done. Did we see the Adeptus Sororitas character? Here is...
Intransia Frey, Dogmata Superior.
She's the Dogmata Superior for the Adeptus
Alright, alright.
on Armageddon. She's a member of the Order of the
Weird.
Martyred Lady.
Looks like that Inquisition Git that was in the open top Dreadnought.
For the officers that are operating on against
It's effectively what this lady
Yeah,
Git
we know
is.
this is a battle that played a big part in some of the.
This is wonderful, lads. This is really wonderful.
Seen them in novels and stuff doing
I really zonking hope
She's a really powerful character to add
that
to a Sister of Battle.
they announce
You've
11th.
got a few different options there. You can see you've got
Maybe that'll be the very end of the show.
brings quite a lot of firepower to the field. You've got a couple of heavy bolters, a couple of heavy flamers, and then a rack of melter missiles in there as well. So a powerful unit to do damage to pretty much anything short range, long range enemy tanks, and fairly tasty in close combat as
I
well.
wonder if I
And she
can
also has an
bump up
Adeptus
their
Sororitas
audio,
branded
'cause this is
loudspeaker nestled under the missile rack,
terrible.
which is nice.
Yeah, always useful.
For those keeping score, this throne is called the Throne of Blame. You might know the Throne of Judgment. There's at least 2 thrones out there.
Well,
Not to,
there's 3 at least.
Beautiful
including
model.
the big one on Terra. Right. Next up is, this is a contender for the strangest model in the
Ooh.
preview. May we introduce you to Inquisitor Croyle. Who is Inquisitor Croyle, Eddie?
So Inquisitor Croyle is a member of the Ordo Xenos, and he's effectively a big game hunter.
What
in
the
Warhammer
zod is
40,000.
that?
So this guy hunts down exotic and weird enemy characters and monsters. He's come to Armageddon particularly to try and take out some of the Orc warlords and Orc psychers and things with that very strange-looking alien rifle. He is mounted on
Agents finally
the
caught
weirdest
something.
looking horse
It's not
shrimp
rules.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks even worse with the nose bag off, right?
Yeah. You've got some
Look at
options for the
that.
kits. You've got a couple of head options for the
What
mount,
is that
head
thing?
options
Is that
for
one of them
the character.
Zoan thing? No,
in
it
game
can't be.
terms, he's very useful. He is a lone op, fast-moving sniper character, so you can imagine him.
Lone op,
being
fast-moving
very useful for
sniper.
all sorts of things.
Yeah,
The
that
rifle
doesn't
has got a
sound fun.
particularly fun rule where once you've managed to hit an enemy unit with it, the damage on it goes up and up and up across the game.
Yeah, fantastic. His gun is a Jadari top cycler for the record, and it is one of the stranger looking guns in Warhammer 40,000, I think it's fair to say.
Riding, it is actually the last of its species. He personally hunted the rest of the species to extinction, but he thought it looked like quite a useful mount, so he kept one of them to ride around on.
So, yeah,
Fun
one
looking
of a
kid.
kind in a very real sense.
I'm
of
not
the
gonna buy him.
Right. Now, where can you learn about all of these characters?
Probably gonna be like
Well,
70 bucks for that
I've got
git.
for you a slipcase
3
of these
books.
3. This is
Return of
Armageddon,
Yarrick,
The Return of
War Without
Yarrick,
End,
and this contains a narrative
Armored
book,
Gauntlet,
a
and
book with
detachments.
attachments
Okay, so
to
we're also
all
getting new
the tools for you to
detachments.
use in your game. I want to start with the narrative bit because it's very exciting. This
That's
does answer
exciting.
question
And the new
that you have
character.
in the
That's not too bad.
of how is Yarrick not dead, right?
It's a good question.
I'm not going to spoil it entirely, other than to say the Space Wolves have something to do with it.
Space Wolves.
On the rule side of things there, you've obviously
Can
got
you
a whole
help
bunch of
Yarrick?
new detachments. No surprises, some of those are Orc and Imperial themed. There's also another book in there which is Armored Gauntlet, which is effectively tank and vehicle battles in Warhammer 40,000. Would be very cool, for example, if you wanted a speed war fighting into an Ork, an Imperial tank or mechanized company, something like that.
That sounds fitting for...
Sounds like a terrible matchup. Speed War is not going to be cracking tanks anytime soon.
Detachments in the detachments book, as one might expect.
That's another thing, we're probably just going to get another Speed War detachment.
Comes out alongside each other,
Oh,
so you'll be able to enjoy. Oh, there we go, we've moved on. The first
That's a good box.
I got a standing ovation from the Imperium side of the room.
That's a really fucking good box.
The first place that you'll be able to get all of the new Astra Militarum vehicles, so the Hippogriff and the Centaur, is in Armageddon Battalion Astra Militarum.
The Dawn and Cicadians. That's not bad at all.
So it's a really solid start, actually, to an Astra Militarum army. If you just want a bit of everything, you've got really solid armored core, a couple of those
Now the audio just gets cut again. This company, man, I don't...
Absolutely, and all of
Like, this content's probably going to be shit, because I'm sure you gets probably can't even hear these lads. I can't even hear these lads.
That's absolutely it. It's not the only battalion that's on its way as well. As you would imagine, there is a lovely new Ork.
What is this?
This one has
That's terrible.
copters in, which are
6 copters, a Wartrike, and a squig buggy. A squig buggy? Just randomly throw a squig buggy in there.
and you've got a Rucker Truck Squig Buggy. This is a box that's effectively designed to accompany Wazdaka. So if
I
you
guess it is
decide
cheaper.
you want to do a Speed War, Wazdaka,
mean,
and this box together give you a really solid start.
If you're buying this, you're buying it for the 6
If
copters.
you're looking to keep Intransia afraid,
the Sisters
Superior Company,
doesn't
there's a new
come with the
battalion
new
for the
one.
Adeptus Sororitas coming. This is like an infantry ground and pound army in a very real sense, with quite a sort of a disciplinarian theme to it. You've got the Repentia, you've got novitiates, and they're backed up by paladin warsuits.
Yeah, it's just a really solid, quite a combat-leaning force.
Absolutely.
For the Adeptus Sororitas. You've got all the stuff that's really good at chopping people up in close combat, basically. Fits really nicely with Intransia Frayne. She's also very competent in combat. So this gives you a really, either a solid start or just a very punchy addition to an Adeptus Sororitas army.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there is one more battalion set. There is, I promise.
Who's up next?
Here we go. So,
Death Watch.
when your world is
The
over,
kill team at Corvus
Black
Blackstar.
This
That is
is
so random.
Battalion Death Watch.
Yeah, so Battalion Death Watch is the new Death Watch plastic miniatures
I mean,
that were first available in
Death Watch doesn't have a lot of models to begin with.
box, so you get a
That looks like new. Or maybe that's just the kill team.
Death Watch, and you also have
Yeah, it looks like the kill team that came out.
so just a really solid unit to go
I mean, for all you 5 Death Watch players, here you go.
enemy units, that sort of thing.
Fantastic and really very.
You can run a Corvus Blackstar, a flyer that is
Not done.
terrible.
For a minute
So
now.
far, there isn't a whole lot.
Call
That's
sign
worth it.
Chester.
Oh, we got the kill teams. Is it
The
more guard?
toughest thrown down grunt from the Eastern
Soul.
Fringe.
One of these.
We've fought Tyranids before. They're tough.
Is this the
But they
10 inch?
drop if you know where to shoot them.
Looks like the 10
We
inch.
thought we were ready. We were wrong.
Oh, Red Terror's back. Ooh. That's nice.
Spectre Squad. Call sign
Spectre Squad.
Chester. The toughest throw.
Oh, we're just
I think we're right. I'm going to talk as if we're back on air. So this is Kill Team Terror on Devlin, and we'd like to introduce you to the fighting men and women of Spectre Squad, which is a brand new kill team, 4 kill team. These are elite scout troops for the Astra Militarum.
Yeah, this is effectively a brand new kill team. This is a kind of stealthy, scouty kill team with lots of kind of fun.
No. Lads. Now what? New. It's cool. Look at that. It's got the 50. Yeah. The big old gun. Sorry. The 50 cal. Is that what the 50 cal is? Looks nice. No audio. This is the worst it's been. Easily worst it's been. More god stuff. You thought we were getting Orks? You can get Wazdecker. Oh, the Vox Relay Beacon. Thank you. Real nice. But guard, Orks, you get Wazdecker, and you get new detachments. Guard, going back to Armageddon. That's like the Steel Legion place. Well, first up, you're not getting Steel Legion. Oh, well, no, actually, no, you are getting Steel Legion. We gotta wait 2 years. But for now, though, you get Yerick, you get this new Kill Team Cadians, you get a new Torox that's called something else, and you get like a mini tank, a mini scouting tank that's got multiple different variations. Look at them kits, they look so nice. But like, where's the... This is probably it. There's no way they're going to show off all these kits and show off 11th at the end of the stream. No zogging way. Is it? What are people saying? Everybody's so mad. Everybody's so mad. Sound, oh no. Everybody's so pissed. Oh, G-Dub. If they don't show off 11th, I might just title this video, G-Dub is terrible at live streams. Multi-billion-dollar company, can't get their shit together. Audio problems. Stream freezes. They were supposed to bring Yerick out, Yerick didn't come out. Lads. And now we're just stuck on the Red Terror because they're trying to figure it out. This is so terrible. Oh, I'm sorry, lads. This is just proper embarrassing. Oh. Oh. Oh, there's a faint whisper in the background. Yep, Red Terror's back. Looks great. I love that. I love the statue. He's like breaking a statue. It's not a huge base. I mean, anything would have been bigger than the old Red Terror. It was on like a 40 mil or something. Alright, new Tyrians, new Cadians. Armageddon. Armageddon, ladies and gents. New edition, Orks vs. Blood Angels. Nope. You're gonna buy this big box in order to get it. And it comes with a bunch of gaunts too, so if you try to split with a Nid player, they're probably gonna say, I don't want them, I just want the...
The Nemesis Operatives dossier, and as well as rules for being able to play the Red Terror, it also allows you to do almost any kind of big thing that you might want to fight. So if you want...
Alright, so this is like boss missions for Kill Team.
Or anything like that, this allows you to play those kind of games.
Yeah, and there's different ways to play it as well. One of the examples that the book gives is 2 kill teams going up against each other while a Hellbrute and a Redemptor Dreadnought slug it out in the middle of the battlefield. So there's loads of cool opportunities to have some fun. Of course, you'll need some new Nemesis operatives, so we've got some returning favourites from Blackstone Fortress.
Yeah, so this is the Archivist. He is a Zote. So we last saw him in Blackstone Fortress. We are re-releasing him for use in games of Kill Team. And yeah, you can bring this guy along and have your Kill Team try and hunt him down. Also coming back from Blackstone Fortress, we have another returning Nemesis operative, which hopefully we'll get to see in a second.
So the next one up is the Amble.
Amble's really nice.
A real classic from back in the day, Warhammer.
Yeah, so Ambles are common to worlds across the Imperium. They're effectively an invasive predatory species. Their prey includes humans. So you definitely get bad news if you start an Amble colony on your planet. But they are exactly the sort of thing that would rampage through the middle of a Kill Team board, messing up the battle that you might be trying to have against your opponent.
Fantastic.
Maggots coming out
So
of them.
that's a whole bunch of great and exciting things for Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. We're going to take a slight diversion away from the 41st millennium and go back about 10,000 years now. And
All right.
tour through the mortal realms as we got
All
excited
right, what's
about
up next,
Warhammer
lads?
Sigmar. We are still not done.
Come on.
We are going to return back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium.
Okay, I've got to turn up.
We have a really exciting video to show you now.
Come on, lads.
Let's go back to 40K.
Come on. Was that a altar? That's the big logo usually only there for big trailers. Blood Angel helmet? Blood Angel? What's that?
Armageddon, the war world. Its soil is worthless, salted by the blood and sweat of generations. War is all that remains. It rises from the dust and echoes in the sky, a promise, a cacophony of endings. Sanguinius' sons, angels of death. We belong here.
Sort of walking, shooting thing.
Our veins burn with his wrath.
This is it,
Outward
man.
hearts
This is it.
hammer with his rage. War is all that we know.
Weird boy? Weird boy? Yeah! Look at that. Now hinges.
This world must hold. There can be no retreat. There can be no mercy. There can be no peace. There is only war.
Give it to me. Give it to me, G-Dub. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new cinematic trailer for a new edition of Warhammer
Yes!
40,000.
Yes! They did it! They did it,
Did you
and
like
it's the
what you
lads!
saw?
It's the lads!
Let's talk about it for just a minute. 'Cause
Please,
I thought that was amazing.
There's
please!
some very, very cool stuff in there. Obviously, there's some Blood Angels in there. There's some Orks. We're going back to Armageddon. Very cool.
Yes, yes.
There was some units we've maybe not seen before. That new big Ork Walker. I don't think we'd ever seen one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And a classic returning unit, slightly redesigned in a land speeder that, like, very familiar for those classic land speeder fans.
That looked a
Right,
little
right, there
bit
was a
like
speeder in there.
Veterans to me as well.
Absolutely
A
so.
little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to like in that trailer. My favourite moment was, I think, for many people might agree, when the chaplain really gets in amongst it.
I think my favourite moment is when the Orc Psyker just kind of vomited across everybody. That was
And
good.
then he takes a Croesus to the face.
He had his fun. He had his
So nice.
So, an incredible way to announce a new edition of Warhammer 40,000. We're really excited to talk to you about that for a few minutes now. So let's start by
Let's do it.
diving into the game.
Ooh. It's a new 40K.
First up, it's new Warhammer 40,000. Let's talk about the game. Eddie, what can you tell us?
Yeah, so a new
What am I
edition
seeing? What am I
of Warhammer
seeing?
40,000 obviously means
Nothing new
a
so far,
core,
at least besides Yeri.
engine to drive this edition. That
New
means
engine.
loads of changes to all sorts of aspects of the game. We're going to talk about some of those in a little bit. We're going to give you an idea about some of the things that might be changing and what it means for you in your
Alright.
game. But it means so much more than just the rules. It also means new cool stuff about the lore and the universe. You've got a
Focus on
little
a
bit of a
new
hint of it
region.
there. We are going back to Armageddon, which is obviously
Yep,
one
yep.
of the most important and pivotal and, I guess, coolest locations.
It's
in
just
the
such an
Warhammer 40,000
iconic
universe.
setting for Warhammer 40,000, and we've
Look
set
at
it
that,
up
that's new.
really in an interesting way with the return of Garrick. and we're going to continue telling stories here and in other exciting places of the galaxy.
Yeah, and you got a bit of a sense of what might be happening in that cinematic as well. We are setting up in the Return of Yarick what happens before the events of this new edition. Effectively, you have the Imperial forces, the human forces of Armageddon are bracing for this enormous wave of orcs that is bearing down on them. Wazdakar is in the lead of that, but Ghazghkull and his legions are not far behind. They signal for help, and the help comes in the form of an enormous new Space Marine crusade, which is composed of all sorts of different chapters. The Blood Angels are obviously there, but you also have lots of other ones. The Ultramarines.
We saw Ultramarines in the video,
Yeah,
right?
Ultramarines
So
are there
yeah,
as
Blood
well,
Angels and
as well
Ultras
as
in the
things
trailer.
like Templars, the Salamanders, the White Scars are there, all the classics.
So it's
yeah,
a classic
everybody.
Space Marine Crusade force returning.
It's a good old-fashioned Space
Naturally,
Marine
yeah,
crusade.
really
Once again, to
major
the war
faction's
world.
going to be fighting.
Yeah, and if you know
True
anything
40K
about war, you
fashion.
know that the chance of a fight being bigger just brings more of them in. This is Ghazghkull's third run at it now. So the war that's going to...
We're going to take it this time.
Nothing we've ever seen before.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, so in addition to talking about the setting, we should show you what the launch box looks like.
They're going to do the... Okay, wait. Are they going to show up contents or just what it physically looks like?
This is Warhammer 40,000 Armageddon.
What is
It
that? I see
a
boys,
new
I see
launch box
grots.
for a new edition. You can see in that artwork something quite nostalgic is happening. Anybody old enough in the room might be getting the same feeling in their heart as me. This really reminds me of my youth. Here you can see we're going to do an interesting thing with the graphic.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the second edition of 40K to look at, but realised in fantastic, like, new artwork.
Yeah, there's some lovely little touches there that kind of nod to this original piece of artwork. Things like the heavy support Space Marine in the bottom right-hand corner, the placement of the grot, the pose of the Space Marine character, and some of the things that are happening in the background. That piece of artwork, obviously, from one of the earlier wars for Armageddon. We are going back there with the Vengeance, and the Blood Angels and Orks are taking centre stage. A couple of things to say about this box as well. We're going to tell you a little bit more about some of the things that might be in this box today. We're not going to tell you everything, so that'll be coming later. But this is an enormously cool box with loads of new Space Marines, loads of new Orks, and all the rules and stuff that you'll need.
Absolutely. So let's, we imagine lots of you in this room want to know a bit more about the rules and what you can expect to change in the way you play, right?
Right, let's see.
This weekend. So let's talk a little bit about those rules, and let's start with our first point, which is we want to talk about that unified experience.
Yeah, so right now in Warhammer 40,000, you have the idea of narrative play and the idea of match play.
Every battle more
What that's
narrative,
kind of meant is
every
that we
battle
can have two
balance.
pools of people
And
who
never the twain shall meet.
and who play Warhammer 40,000. And what we think actually is that every game of Warhammer 40,000 should feel like a rich and immersive narrative, whether you're playing at home or you're playing at the top tables. Of a
Right, I
tournament.
understand
Every
that.
game should
How do they
feel
do that,
balanced,
though?
and exciting, and you're never sure who's going to win. So we are sort of breaking down some of the barriers between narrative play and match play, so that generally all of your games should feel balanced, and narrative is injected into the heart of all ways to play Warhammer 40,000.
Fantastic. A lot of people will have questions about the current rules that they've got available to them, so we can maybe reassure you. At launch, your codex still works.
All right.
So this is a really important point. In some editions of Warhammer 40,000 in the past, we have seen what's sometimes referred to as like a re-indexing of the edition.
Absolutely.
That isn't happening this time round. If you have a codex at home today on your shelf, that will continue to work until that codex is
That's what
eventually
we thought.
replaced over the normal course of releases. That also applies to the campaign books that are being released. So if you picked up the 500 Worlds,
That means
or
that,
Maelstrom, or you're looking at the
they can't
Return of Yarick,
swap up the
all
rules
of
too
those
much.
will still work in the new edition.
In order for the codexes to still work.
If you want new ways to use the models you've got in your collection, or an excuse to get new models, there's going to be loads of new detachments coming. 70 new detachments.
Yeah, so this is really big. Right on the first day of the new edition, there will be over 70 new detachments for Warhammer 40,000 for
Yikes.
loads of different armies, which will immediately
So you
shake
still-
up the way that you play.
So you still get to use the
and,
previous
give you
ones.
loads of new options in terms of being able to put units on the table in
Lads,
fun
like
and exciting
Chaos
ways.
Marines
A lot
and
of
Space
the
Marines are
focus
gonna
on
have,
units
no
that maybe
joke, 30
haven't had a
detachments
chance to
apiece.
shine, in the current edition, and let you play in ways that you've never been able to put a force together before.
Yeah, it's really exciting and a really novel and interesting thing for players to sink their teeth into, right? Your codex is existent already, but there's going to be a new thing for you to get to grips with right away.
Yeah, and the detachments actually work in a slightly different way to the current detachments as well. You can continue to use your current detachments, but there will also be a different way you can put together your army. One of the advantages of the detachments, the new ones that are coming and ones we'll see in the future, is that the detachment system is now modular. So for example, if you have an army that contains Terminators and bikes,
Like me.
like you, and you wanted, I want some special rules for my bikes, but I also like some special rules for my Terminators, you can now take two smaller detachments and combine them together to create an army that works exactly as you would imagine your army should work on the tabletop.
Absolutely. And this is going to really shake things up, right?
Keep the ball
There's
right.
some applause in the room. For loads of us who've enjoyed Warhammer 40,000, what we want is to be able to sort of build an army that fits our imagination.
So how's that
great
work
stories
then?
we've read and those iconic scenes, and this is going to enable you to do that in a way.
Because you can't say, oh, I want to take
pudding, you know, and do some really interesting
Warhorn
things.
rule
It definitely can
and
pull it in a very
the
competitive
Cult of
way
Speed
and kind of
rule.
build a great combo.
Or just completely forge the narrative,
But you
right?
So they
can
must have like a
absolutely build
create your
design
own
really to let
detachment
you absolutely
section.
have your army work the way you imagine it
It has
would.
to be.
Some of the shots we saw just then on the previous slides will give you an idea about
Or
some
unless
of the
only
detachments that
the
might be
new
coming,
detachments
and some of them are fairly
modular.
specific to certain
Modular.
units. So for example, there is one that lets the Emperor's Champion really shine if you've got a Black Templar's army. There is one of them that lets Cornate Demon Engines have a boost if you're picking up one of the new Defilers, for example, and you've got a Khorne army, you can make those great. There's one that's a very stealth-themed army for Tau, so you can have stealth suits and ghost kills and things like that.
Perfect. So next up, we should talk about how the fact that we've got some things to talk about with regards to objectives.
Really?
Yeah, so this
This
one
is interesting.
This one is pretty big. So right now when you play Warhammer 40,000, scattered across your tabletop, your beautifully painted tabletop, your beautifully painted armies and your beautiful terrain are scattered some weird circles that your guys have to go and stand on. There are no more objective marker circles in games of Warhammer 40,000. Instead,
Really?
your troops will be battling over pieces of terrain. Taking and putting models onto pieces of terrain will be how you take them, and it immediately changes the way that you look at taking objectives. Rather than just moving to take a circle, you are trying to take a key bunker, capture a relic, take a
Absolutely.
key position on the
The
battlefield.
idea is that your
Okay,
games
okay.
will focus on the things that you imagine your soldiers doing when you're playing a game of
Yeah,
Warhammer
yeah.
40,000.
All right,
I've
I
never
see, I
once
see.
daydreamed of taking a circle. I've daydreamed of my Dark Angels storming a bastion or taking a trench work. And so the marker that you saw there, imagine that packed with fantastic Warhammer 40,000 terrain, and that's the thing that your soldiers are going to fight.
I'm
and die
skeptical.
Yeah.
But again,
One of the other things that's going to change in terms of missions is going to be that the detachments that you choose will dictate the types of mission that you play. When an army goes into battle, it doesn't just go out with the intent of playing pitched battle against an enemy army. It will usually have a mission. It will be assigned, you have been sent out to disrupt the enemy's plans, or to capture ground, or
just to kill
or
as
just
many
to
things
take
as you
as many
can.
heads as you can. So there is a new system called Forced Disposition, which your detachments will unlock. And when you come to play a game, you and your opponent compare your forced dispositions, and that will generate the mission that you play. So if your mission is to take ground, and your opponent's mission is to take heads, you will be given a mission to play that means that both of you are trying to enact the narrative that your army brings to the table.
all right.
Next up, we should talk about some of the specific rule changes. The first up is that there's no more stratagem stacking.
Yes.
Stacking?
That seems like a popular one in the room. So, right now, when you play a game of Warhammer 40,000, one of the go-to tactics is you save up all your command points and then you put them all into your best unit, and that unit becomes way better at fighting than it has any right to be, or far more durable. You have things
I don't
like
see people
stacking
doing
armor
that
of
very
contempt
more
alongside
often.
minuses to wound and decreased damage and all those sorts of things. In the new edition, you will need to choose which stratagem you would like to use on each unit per phase, and you can't have more than one. And it does all sorts of interesting stuff to the game. For example, if you have re-rolled your charge with a stratagem, you now can't use any other stratagems that turn, so you can't tank shot. If you have decided to use a stratagem to give you re-rolls to hit in combat, you don't get the chance to have another re-roll to wound on a tactical re-roll, for example.
It's going to really shake things up in an exciting way. We should also
Yikes.
talk about a change which is going to affect, in particular, the
That's
early
huge.
phase of the game, which is the ability for units to stay hidden.
Yeah, so this is a really big one, especially in terms of how you're going to deploy your armies. You cannot target an enemy unit that has not shot unless you are within 15 inches of it. If it is in a piece
What?
of terrain.
What?
So imagine when you deploy your army, you put your Devastator squad or your Astra Militarum heavy weapon teams in a trench work or a fortification or in some ruined buildings. That scene in the movie where you look at the guys lying in ambush and staying out of sight. That's what you get on the tabletop. So you don't have to.
So what, that means you can stick your Devastators on the top floor of a ruin, and they'll
still
get at
that
least
same
one
benefit.
Yeah, so
turn to
and
shoot.
you get that benefit up until the point that your unit effectively joins the battle. So you can park that unit high up in the terrain feature where previously they'd have to hide.
Yeah, exactly.
They are safe unless the enemy gets very close or until you've taken your shot.
Absolutely. Next up,
That's
there's
a lot of
some changes to
shakeups.
how combat works.
Oh,
so
no.
it's been cleaned up. Eddie, can you tell
Yeah,
us more?
so there's some big changes across the combat phase. Some subtle ones, some big ones. We'll go through some of them, but there's lots more, and you get a chance to kind of look at those when you finally get the rules in your hand. Fast dice rolling is now the standard. Most players kind of
Already do it,
kind
right?
of do it already, but the rules are now written to assume that you're rolling all your dice for a single kind of set of attacks together, rather than kind of doing them one at a time. So that makes combat much faster. Combat activation has changed. The biggest change there is that in your turn, your strikes first units now go before your opponent. And in game terms, that means...
Ooh, there's some cheers for that
in
one.
game terms, that means if you've charged into an enemy army and they've got strikes first, at least one of your units will get to go before they go. That's
alright.
quite a big change for some armies.
That is big,
Pile-in
big,
and consolidate
big.
now happen together.
Ooh.
So you do all of your pile-ins for everything in your army, and then you do all of the combats, and then you do all of the consolidates. And what that means is that the pile-in move becomes much more about getting lots of your units into close combat, and less about trying to kind of grab extra inches towards getting objectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final one is near to my heart, because I like those risky charge rolls, right? But when they don't pay off, you guys standing around doing nothing. So it's different now.
It is different. So the way that charges work now is that you pick your targets after you have rolled your dice. So that does some pretty major things. So
That's
the
huge.
first and most obvious thing is that if you move forward and you don't manage to get that charge against the unit you were aiming for, and there's a closer unit, you can now charge them instead. So you generally end up with less units standing around and kind of having failed the
that's
charge
so
and not doing
nice.
anything. It also means that occasionally you
That
might
is so
get
nice.
a unit into that big, long 12-inch charge that you
Yeah,
wouldn't previously
yeah.
have tried, but you can now get in.
Yeah.
So basically, this is a rule that just encourages you to get stuck into close combat. We don't like it when units move forward and then end up standing around.
Exactly.
More charges, more
I
often.
hate
More
it.
charges more often.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So next one, and I mentioned previously that I have a Astra Militarum Steel Legion army. They drive around in chimeras. This one's quite exciting for me. Tell us about combat disembark.
There is now a rule where if your transport is in combat with an enemy unit, you can just get out straight into combat. Small caveat, it's not always the best idea because your unit will be battle shocked and might take casualties. But it makes it very difficult to completely lock down a force that's trying to drive forward
I see.
combat units to get stuck in.
Absolutely. Next up, we should talk about the leaders and the impact they have in your games. Essentially, your leaders are always going to lead. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, so when you choose a model that can lead a unit, you now assign it when you build your army list. So if you have a chaplain and he's going to lead one of your units of Space Marines, you now write that in your army list rather than choosing before the game.
Okay.
But the thing that happens in-game is that if the unit is killed, the character keeps all the benefits of leading the unit that he would normally have. So your chaplain doesn't become inexplicably worse at combat because the guys next to him have died. And the same is true for all the different characters. So that immediately means that all of those heroes that have lost their unit can carry on being maximum heroic right up until the moment they die.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the last thing we should talk about, which connects to all of this, is there's going to be a huge refresh
I even
to
think
the
it is.
Warhammer 40,000 app.
Yeah, so the Warhammer 40,000 app has already proven to be really useful. We know loads of you use it all the time. We're going to put loads of resource and effort into it to make it an even more valuable and essential thing. There's loads of things coming for it. One of the things we can announce today is that we're going to increase language support. So right now the app is only in English. Going forwards, it will have support for English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean.
Well done,
Very nice.
Good, right? And that will start with core rules, mission rules, and combat patrol. So that's not all that's
Open
coming
up
for the
the
app. There's
army
loads of
builder.
other things, but this is going to be
Please.
a really useful tool for all of you going forwards, regardless of what language you play Warhammer in.
Yeah, I had a chance to get told some of the cool things that are coming, and I can't reveal it yet, but it's going to be super rad. I'm very excited as a person who relies on the app for when I'm playing.
I don't want to have to pay
We'll have
either army
loads more
builder.
about all the details of what those rules mean exactly on the Warhammer community website over the coming days and weeks.
So, we told you we'd show you maybe something from the new launch box. Would you like to see some new models?
Yeah.
So,
Come
let's
on,
start
lads.
with this.
There's the intercessors. June.
So this is the first of the new Space Marine models. We're going to show you him today. He's a Space Marine intercessor, and you see the coming together of old and new in terms of armor types.
Yeah,
3
so
months
attrition
from
has
now.
taken its toll on the Primaris Marines, and their shiny Tacticus armor that they went out into Crusade with has now had to be supplemented with parts of classic armor pieces. For us, though, that means that we get to use lots of very cool classic pieces like the Mark 7 helmet you can see.
Look at
It's a
weird,
good
like,
look, right?
plant.
It's a good
The
look.
dead plant
And
base,
that
that's
is
funny.
the sort of thing you can look forward to going forwards. Lots of the Space Marines in this box will have elements of classic armor that you might recognize from earlier editions and earlier sets, mixed in amongst the
Yep. Firstborn are
Mark X
gone
Tacticus.
because everything
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
firstborn.
I like there's some lovely little details here. He's got the sort of the
That's
purity
what they're doing.
scrolled style.
Yep, so Tech Marines are going
ribbon
bye-bye.
wrapped around
Primaris
his rifle.
Intercessors are probably also going bye-bye and get replaced with whatever these idiots
Primaris,
are.
when we first saw them, the Primaris Space Marines look quite clean cut, right? And they're increasingly blending in with.
They're getting a bit more gothic every time we see
absolutely.
them.
I really like it.
One of the other things to note as well about this model and all of the models in the box set is that while he looks very cool, painted as a Blood Angel, there is nothing sculpted onto that model to say it needs to be a Blood Angel. So if you have an Ultramarine, a Space Wolf, a Dark
Or
Angel,
the best
an
ones, the
Imperial
Dark
Fist,
Angels.
or flavored to taste, I guess, you can paint him as any Space Marine chapter you like.
Fantastic. Would you like to see something from the other side?
Yes, please.
Let's see an Ork then.
I'm sorry, lads. Gonna be more monopose boys.
Fantastic. So this is an Ork
Oh,
boy
oh.
from the upcoming Armageddon launch
True.
box. And something's a bit different about him, right?
Yeah, so I think some of you already
Yeah.
clocked it in the video, and obviously you can see it there on screen. In previous editions, in previous versions of the Ork box set, you had to choose whether you wanted to give your Orks a shooter or a chopper. You can now have both. No Ork should leave home without a chopper, and no Ork would
That's so
dream of
nice.
going to the battlefield without carrying the biggest gun that he can carry. So
I have
going
a
forwards,
lot
Ork
of
boys
boys to
are assumed
remodel
to
now.
have whatever weapon the situation demands.
Get yourself a boy that can do both, right?
Absolutely.
I love it.
That's good, 'cause I was wondering how they
we've
can
got
make shooters
one more
better.
sneaky tease of things that are coming in this box right now, and that is that we can confirm for certainty there is at least
Yeah.
one squig in the box.
Yeah. It's coming out in June, so they're gonna start like
That went down
really.
quite well. You will
really
need to
showing
wait
stuff out.
a little
Off.
bit longer to see the rest. Stay your disappointment.
That is everything? Yep, that is everything. Alright. Wow. I'm just happy it actually happened. Once they start showing off all of the guard gets and saying like, oh, this is the big Armageddon return. We got new Armageddon books, campaign books with detachments, and all that other Zorgan crap. I mean, that's cool and all, but when I saw that, I went, oh no, lads. Especially with Wazdaka, I'm like, no, that is the Ork that they previewed with the new bits. That's the new Ork. That's it. Like, yeah, we're probably still gonna get Orks in the new edition, but they ain't gonna show it off today. Well, I'm happy to say I was wrong about that. Overall, like, shit live show. They've done how many of these now? And they've always just been terrible in terms of the technicalities. With the audio being bad, either it missing, it being too loud, too quiet, desynced. The volume of the trailers are way loud, and the volume of the commentators are really low. So you have to mess with your audio settings every 5 seconds. In this case, the entire stream crashed. They had to reboot it halfway through. It's just embarrassing. So that was awful. But in terms of what they showed off, like, I don't know if there were any misses. Because what, they showed off the kill team with the guardsmen and the red tear. That was awesome. The new Imperial Guard tanks, super cool. The cities of Sigmar looked fantastic. The new rats were cool. I think the only miss was probably the underworlds, the elves. But I think it's just because it's underworlds. They're usually like small 5-man units. And it's like a small skirmish type game that's on like a board, like a grid style board, I think. So it's not really meant to be super special anyways. But then the 11th edition. This is... Let me see if I can go back to the rules here. When do they start showing up here? Okay. Unified experience. Every battle more narrative, every battle balanced. So they are trying to make it to where your games are very narrative driven while still being balanced. How do you do that? I'm playing a Crusade right now. And I found that with a lot of those Crusade books, the missions are horribly one-sided. Unless you roll up a mission that is both attacker and defender are trying to achieve the same goal, that being hold the center point or move the relics or something like that. Typically, if you have a defensive mission where, oh, the defender gets like half the table for deployment zone. All the objectives are in the defender's deployment zone. The attacker can't deep strike anywhere within 12 inches of any of the objective markers. And the only way the attacker can get points is by getting to the objectives, doing a full battle round's worth of an action to burn it and destroy it. So the defender has a whole turn to try and stop the attacker from achieving that goal. And that is horribly imbalanced, in my opinion. And most of the Crusade missions are like that. So, I don't know how they're going to do this. Now, later on, they talk about how they got rid of objective markers, and how, to score points, you have to hold, like, buildings. And that helps a lot. You know, that makes it seem more cinematic. So that's probably what they're getting at with this. I'm sure there's probably more, but that's a step in the more narrative direction that doesn't affect the actual gameplay very much. Let's see. Codex still works. This is what everybody thought. About every 2 editions is when, or after every 2 editions, is when GW usually is a hard reset. So we suspected that they weren't going to completely dumpster the current rule set. So Codex still working is really nice. That does mean that a lot of things are still going to need to be rewritten though, especially if objective markers are going away. Because there are heaps of units in the game currently that have rules that say either reroll wounds if your opponent's on an objective, reroll hits if you're on an objective, sticky objectives, you know, all them things. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with this in terms of rewriting. 70 new detachments. This is nice. Every army getting more stuff is always welcome. It's gonna get pretty bloaty though. Like again, like I mentioned before, like Chaos Marines just got, what, 2 detachments for the Red Corsairs when Huron came out. The Iron Warriors get with the Defiler and the Mutilators is about to come out, and they're probably going to get another 2 detachments. Chaos Marines before all this already had like 10 detachments. I think there was 8 in the book, and then they got 2 additional from either a Grotmiss or just a quarterly balance data slate. So that's 10, and then 2 for Red Corsairs for 12, 2 for Iron Warriors up to 14, and they're probably going to get another 1 or 2 from this. And at what point are they going to start overlapping? Like again, with the Red Corsairs, it's like, oh, you're playing Chaos Marines today? What are you playing? Oh, I'm playing Red Corsairs. Or are you playing Renegade Raiders? or you're playing Renegade Warband, or you're playing Huron's Marauders, all 3 Red Corsair flavored attachments. You know, if you're not a Chaos Marine player, how the Zog are you going to know the difference between a Renegade Raiders and a Renegade Warband? So, interested to see how this works out. Same with the modular attachments that they talked about. Yeah. So we said, oh, you can take a Terminator rule and you take a bike rule and have them in the same detachment. How's that going to work? Unless the new detachments are specifically split up, as in one rule, second rule. Well, I don't know. It makes it more customizable and will add a lot more options and flavor to the game. So I'm not dogging on it. It's not too bad. Of course, objectives being gone. That shakes up the game immensely. But I welcome it. Because, yeah, everybody jokes around. All 40Ks just run up the board, stand on circles. If you can stand on the circle better than your opponent, you win the game. Now it's going to be, can you hold this point? Can you hold this terrain piece or something? Which will be a little bit better. Let's see, every battle's a story. More the same thing. The stratagem stacking helps a lot. Well, okay. I didn't get it at first, but then when he explained it, so he said, okay, I don't know if the audio is going to be good on this video or not, so I'll just repeat it. But he says that it's almost like you can only use one stratagem on a unit per turn. Not even per phase, per turn. Because he said, oh, if you are charging and you have to CP reroll your charge roll, that means you won't be able to then tank shock. Well, I guess tank shock also happens in the charge phase, so maybe it's not per turn, maybe it is just per phase. So fight phase, you can go, I'm gonna, 1 CP, give my unit lethal sustained, and then 1 CP crit 5s. Like, you can't do both of them. So that will impact the lethality of the game a lot, which is what a lot of people complain about. They hate that no matter how durable the unit you've got, if it gets activated on, it will die. So I like that. Now this, the stay hidden, this is real interesting. So, your unit cannot be shot unless it has already shot something else in the game. Or is within 15 inches. So, what, does every unit have situational lone op now? Because that's what it sounds like. That shakes it up a lot too. Like, think about indirect. Can you just not use indirect weapons on units anymore? Unless they've played the game? A lot of times with indirect weapons, you try to blast the unit that the opponent has on their home objective to open up their backfield to be able to deep strike your gits onto it and take their home field. But can you just not do that? Because the gits on the back objective, 90% of the time, aren't going to contribute anything in terms of damage to the game. If I screen out my entire deployment zone with 20 grots, will those grots just not be touched? Unless something charges them and gets close to them? That is huge shakeup. And combat cleaned up. Fast dice rolling. Everybody does it already. That's what he said. Combat activation. So now, fights first does not mean the defender goes first anymore. It'll still be you go, I go, but instead of the defender going first, it's still the attackers. And that's a big change up too. Because then you can just charge everything like you would normally, and then you'll ask your opponent, okay, what Scott fights first? And if they say, oh, I've got this one unit, my one big Terminator unit has fights first, well, then you'll say, okay, well, I'll just hit them first. It just takes out them feels bad moments. Pile and consolidate. The lad on the announcer said, how it works is that you will do your pile-in, you'll do your fights, and then you'll do your consolidate. Which is how it works now. So I don't understand that. But we'll have to see if they elaborate later. And then the charge measuring, that's huge. That's huge. It only comes up in certain situations, because there are certain situations where you're like, oh, well, do I want to take the 4-inch easy charge into this Rhino? Or do I want to take the spicier charge and try to get into... Oh, here's a better example. You're playing against Guard. You have a Chimera and you have Kazakin that just hopped out of it. You're okay, well, the Chimera is 4 inches away. The Kazakin hopped out the back of the transport, so if I want to charge them, it's going to be an 8-inch charge. Do I want to risk failing it by trying to go for that 8-inch? Or do I just go for the easy charge and hopefully, with enough pile-in consolidate shenanigans, lock up the Kazakin and just not be able to swing at him? This way, now you roll your charge distance before you declare who's used charging. So if you're in that same situation with the Chimera and the Kazakin, you roll your dice and you roll a 5, you're like, alright, well I'm only going to get to the Chimera, so I'll just go into the Chimera. Or you roll a 10, you're like, oh, well now I can go into both, so let's go into both. That's huge. So nice. So nice. And then this, combat disembark. You can now disembark into combat. I think this is only really going to mean, again, like the guy said, it's going to be harder to completely wrap transports. Like, emergency disembarkation is still a thing, but there isn't as much gaminess to it, I guess. It just means that your models aren't going to completely just flat out die as much. Which it doesn't happen very much now. But at least having this as an option is very nice. And then this one, leaders always lead. So if the unit dies, your character still keeps the buffs. I wonder if that works both ways. Because I'm thinking like a war boss with knobs. The knobs are -1 to wound if there's a war boss leading them. So if the knobs die, will the war boss still be -1 to wound? Probably not. Will the war boss still have +1 to hit? Yes. So that's nice. That's really nice. App's changing, that's fine. And then the new models. And yeah, the only orc one they showed off is this new boy here. Let's go to him real quick. There we go. Looks nice. I mean, the pose is very similar to one of the new orc boys we got in that last kit. The chopper looks different, the head's different. Plenty of things are different about the lad. You know, and boys are boys, like I'm still going to pick some up. But again, because this is the starter box, I'm pretty sure every time a starter box has come out, all the models have been push fit. As in no glue required. You can just snap them all together. Which means that they can't be posed differently. Or if they can, it's very difficult. So that tells me that we're getting monopose boys again. Which is unfortunate, but you know, I've been playing Orks for a decade now, and I've got plenty of them kits. New models are new models. I would love to build and paint some of these kits. But if you're a new Ork player, I do not suggest going out and buying 100 of these lads. And aside from that, that's it. So, very exciting. 11th edition is on the way in June. June. 3 months away. Less than that, probably, because we're the end of March. I better start saving my teeth, lads. Let me tell you that. Because the Leviathan box costs like $300. This box is probably going to be at least $350, if not more. Yeah. Thanks for watching, you lovely gits. I'd say sorry for the shit reveal, but that was more on G-Dub's side than me. I'm very excited for this, and I'm very excited to go over all the new detachments. We're going to check out Wazdaka when he comes out, all the reveals. It's going to be great, lads. The future is green. And it's only 3 months away. Alright, well that's been the Daily Crumper. Thanks for watching. Signing off.